Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. I'm Jordan, and if you're new here, make sure to hit the like button, comment, and of course subscribe. Today we're gonna be going over how to learn songs as fast as possible. These are my personal steps that I use and I'm gonna be using live in today's video because I have a gig coming up and I really need to learn a bunch of songs really fast. Before we get into that, I wanna let you know that I just released my first single off my debut album. The song is called Castaway. I have it linked down below in the description and in the pinned comment, so be sure to check it out. I got asked to play a gig this weekend with a band that I've never played with before, and we're playing many songs that I've never played before and some that I've never even heard before. So I'm gonna be running you guys in real time through my process of learning these songs. Now, I can't exactly play these songs because of copyright issues. Thankfully, they provided a Spotify playlist of the set, and we're gonna look at it and go through my process and tackle how I'm gonna learn these songs the fastest I can. Before we get any further, this video is sponsored by me. You can go check out my website where there's t-shirts that you can buy or awesome coffee mugs. And also you can go check out my Patreon where there's tons of in-depth lessons going over different licks and techniques, theory. And if you just want to be generous and support me in this channel, just go check out my Patreon or my website. It's very much appreciated. Thank you so much. All right, so the first thing I do is look through all the songs and I just go through and I'm like, okay, I know that song already. I've played that a bunch of times. And then I look at some and I'm like, I know that song. I've played it maybe a couple times in the last few years or something like that. And then I go through and I'm like, I've never played that song, but I've heard it before, all the way to maybe songs I've never heard before. Thankfully, this set list is pretty small. I think it's only 35 or 40 songs. And so it's gonna be pretty swift. So I got a screen recording right now. So I'm just gonna look through. So Nothing But a Good Time by Poison. I already know that, so I'm not gonna waste time right now. Cars. I've never played this song, but I'm familiar with it. I've heard it quite a bit on the radio before. Summer of '69, I've played that, no problem. Working for the Weekend. I've never learned that song, but I am familiar with it, so it should come pretty naturally. Born to Boogie, Hank Williams Jr. I don't know that song, but I know Hank Williams Jr., and it's probably pretty simple. Relax. I've literally never heard that song, so I'm going to put that in the category of never heard before. Jenny 8675309. I know that song. Sarah Smile. I've actually never heard of that. Blister in the Sun. Never heard of that one. Some Like It Hot. Never heard of that one either. Play That Funky Music. I know that song. Wicked Game. Never heard that. Ain't Talking About Love, Van Halen. Definitely know that song. Anyways, I'm going through. I'm just kind of grouping the songs. Okay, it's 40 songs. A lot of these songs I've at least heard before. I don't necessarily know all of them. There's quite a few I do know. And there's some I just grew up listening to a ton. So what I like to do is categorize all the songs in that way, and I always go and tackle the songs I've never heard before first. I'd put those as the top priority because worst case scenario, these other songs that I've played before or at least heard a bunch of times, I can get by probably pretty easily at the gig without too much worry. So there's quite a few songs, probably 5 to 10 that I've never heard before. So we're gonna start with that. And so my process of that, I now kind of have a tier list. You could write this on paper if you want. I'm just gonna do it mentally. First thing is I want to start on those songs. I'll go back to the top of the list. And what I do is I give a listen through, broad listen to. I'm not trying to learn it on the spot. I'm trying to just get like a feel of the layout of the song. If there's like a key riff that needs to be learned, a key solo that's super important, and then kind of how many like sections there are of like unique sections, because of the song's 12-bar blues, it's kind of just 12-bar blues and it's the same thing over and over again, but some songs have different sections, and so I kind of count that. Usually most songs are probably around 3 sections, right? You have like a verse, chorus, bridge kind of deal, and maybe like an intro riff, so it might be 4. And so I just get a quick listen through and I kind of gauge that. And maybe while it's going, I'll kind of figure out some sounds, figure out some chords, see what's going on. And I just make a mental kind of roadmap. I would highly recommend is I'd get a bunch of pieces of paper and just chart out the songs on the spot and write the arrangement, like intro, verse, chorus, and then later on a next listen through, kind of refine. We want to be very broad on this because we want to capture the whole song. We don't want to dive into a riff and then spend 30 minutes learning a riff. Anyways, that's what I do. I go super broad, and then I kind of learn some of the sections, and then really I move on to the next song. I want to get through the 10 songs or whatever that I've never heard before as fast as humanly possible, just to familiarize myself with how they sound in the kind of basic form of them. So because of copyright, I'm gonna go through my process of learning songs the fastest way possible using my latest single, Castaway, from my debut album. So I have it pulled up right now on Spotify. So basically my idea here is we went through the set list and we made mental notes of what songs we are pretty familiar with, what songs we've heard before but haven't learned, and then obviously the songs we never heard before. So I'm gonna go through the process as if I never heard this song before and I had to play it very, very soon, and I wanted to get through the whole song as fast as possible, right? So we're gonna look at very broad, very non-refined. Like, we're gonna just be like, oh, there's a part that sounds like something, and then there's a different part, right? We're not gonna get into the exact thing. So we're gonna listen through my song, and then we're gonna go through my process of learning them as fast as possible. Right, first thing I notice, it starts off with a really, really cool riff. I'm not gonna learn the riff right now, actually. I'm just like, riff, cool riff, okay? And we keep moving on. Okay, we got a breakdown into the verse. I kind of hear like a da 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 da. Right, I'm gonna make a little note. It kind of does that riff, it stops and does that little thing. Let's hear the verse. Time keeps passing. Why do I feel this way? Kind of a laid back, chill verse, right? Pretty simple. It's not riffy like the intro was. Day to day I'm searching, lost to see a castaway. All right, I see it's very laid back, chill, kind of going on there. I hear that little riff, little lick kind of happening there, but I'm not thinking much about it right now because I'm just trying to get through the song and kind of get a full picture before I sit down and learn these different riffs and what chords are actually happening. Now, during this right now, you could be sitting down and like figuring out the chords and everything like that. Of course, that's a great thing to be doing. I often do this process with a guitar not in my hands, and so I often will just be listening to the song, making these mental notes. But if you have a guitar in your hand while you're doing this, yeah, you can be picking apart, kind of getting a rough idea of what chords are happening at different times. All right, let's hear more. Disillusioned thoughts fill my life with fantasy. Deep inside, I want it. Ambition gets the best of me. Why is it I'm full of hopes and dreams? My mind plays tricks on me. I'm cast away with my own. All right, so I hear right there's kind of like this obvious change. It builds up. It's like a pre-chorus. And then I can hear it went back to that intro riff again. So it's a shared kind of part. It's happening right now and happened at the beginning of the song. So right now I'm hearing there's that riff, there's that laid back verse vibe, and then there's this pre-chorus kind of aggressive thing that happens. Also, it does the same thing that it did in going into the first verse right there. So I'm probably gonna skip ahead because it sounds like it's going to the same verse again. So it was just... Yeah, it sounds like the first verse. So I'm gonna just skip forward, see if anything new happens. Kind of same thing that happened again with the pre-chorus right here. Yeah, there's a slight change, but it's pretty much the same part. So right now there's 3 parts, and they kind of duplicate back and forth. Nothing too crazy going. All right, now we got the solo happening after that second chorus. Mental note of that. So my first thought with a solo, some solos are a little bit simpler. This one's very technical. So I usually, if it's super technical like that, instead of getting into the weeds, learning everything, I just kind of skip over it and be like, oh, it's kind of some kind of technical riffy solo. If it's more melodic, I will make a mental note of that, and I might spend some time kind of learning it. But this is too much going on, so I'm not going to worry about it too much right now and just kind of skip through. So I'm hearing that. I'm like, oh, that's some kind of like rock and roll riffs. It kind of chills out. It's not as technical there. Okay, I hear a staccato ending. So In my opinion, that last note needs to be hit at that time. So I'm gonna make a mental note that the solo needs to end very strongly, rhythmically. That same little da 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 part that we heard from earlier, that always leads to the verse so far. So we have another verse. I'm gonna just skip forward. Pre-chorus. All right, so I'll skip to the song like that, just like that. Now, sometimes you'll miss a part on accident, but basically there's like a riff that happens, there's a laid back verse, there's this pre-chorus that kind of builds up with some intensity, and then it just goes back to the riff, right? So there's really just three things, and then obviously there's a solo, but we're not gonna worry about that right now. So I'll go back to the beginning now. My mindset is this: what is gonna take the least amount of time to learn? In my mind is the verse. The verse was the most simplest part, so I'm gonna go to the verse, try to learn that, and then go to that pre-chorus, and then I will work out the riff and stuff like that later. So let's go to the verse. So I just gotta go through. Obviously, it's my song. I know what's going on, so I'll kind of search around the fretboard. All right, cool. It's got a kind of a minor chord there. Why do I feel this way? Walks down to another chord. Here it's back to the same chord from earlier. New chord right there. And that's it. So I'm hearing like an alternation. Like there's like almost like a pedal chord. There's a chord, it goes to another chord, goes back to that chord, goes to a new chord, and it just keeps pedaling back and forth. But it always goes to that kind of home chord right there. So making a mental note of that. So I hear that's a deep, like aggressive staccato descending run or lick. Pretty. Now in my mind, this is where I use theory too. Is I know the minor scale, I know modes, and I'm like, that sounds like he's just walking down the minor scale. So it instantly gives me a shortcut. If I find that first chord, I'm like, oh, he's just walking down the scale with chords, right? Super easy. That's where learning your theory and scales really, really helps out and helps you learn songs super, super fast. So I can hear that descending run is literally just walking down the scale. Why is it I'm full of hopes and dreams? My mind plays tricks on me. Back to the riff, right? So now I have the verse kind of picked out, and then I have that pre-chorus. I don't have the riff yet. So now about this time, I'm probably going to go and check out the opening riff. So I'll go back there. So when I hear there, I hear some single notes, and then I hear some chords happening. Right. Now, I'm not going to try to figure that out because obviously I know how to play it, but I'm kind of picking that riff out like that. I hear single notes and some chords going on. And then it just ends. So I got that kind of refined there. I'd go back through and I'd sit there and pick out the notes a little bit. Not getting too bogged down with the exact 100% way of playing it. I'll kind of just be like... I'll probably pick that out because it's pentatonic-y. Maybe pick out those chords and be like, oh, it's going G to C. I'll kind of get that going, and then so I can play through the song kind of roughly. Oh, it's kind of riffing around that. Goes to the verse. Then I need to learn that little descending part, right? See, when I hear that, I naturally hear that it's not the pentatonic scale. It's definitely hitting the minor scale because there's some extra flavor notes going on there. So I'll make a mental note of that while I'm picking out the notes. It helps me guess a little bit more accurately because I can hear that it's the minor scale and not just the pentatonic. Now, what I would do, I would continue this process. I'd go through it piece by piece, play through a verse, chorus, try to get that intro riff a little bit better. The solo for this particular song would be the absolute last thing that I would ever do. And what I would probably do because of this arrangement would be learn the rhythm guitar parts of the solo first before diving into the actual solo part. Say I had 10 other songs to learn, I would go through where I'm at right now with this song, where I kind of have a rough layout. I know there's like 3 main parts, and I kind of have a gist of what's going on. Then I'd go to the next song, do the same exact thing, broad listen through, kind of get a rough idea of the song, maybe figure out what key it's in, some of the chord progressions, and then move on. I'm not going to get bogged down by all the technicalities of the solo and all that right now. I want to get a broad look at all 5 to 10 songs that I'm super unfamiliar with. Now, once I've done that and I got it all kind of written out and laid out in my mind, I'll go through and refine these different parts more and more in that cycle, one at a time. And I'll slowly, over the hours or days or whatever I am leading up to the gig or just getting the songs down, I'll slowly tackle more and more of the parts and refine it more and more down. My biggest thing, however, is I want to be able to play this at a gig as fast as possible. And sometimes you got to not be 100% perfect for that. And so that's what I'm keeping in mind for this. So that's what I highly recommend, is go super broad and then have these kind of loops back and forth where you refine. Don't go super specific and refine, because you could waste all day on that guitar solo and not know the whole song yet. All right, so I hope you got a lot out of today's video. It's absolutely transformed how I learn songs and how fast I can learn songs, doing this very broad and then refined look at learning songs. So hope this helps. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and I'll see you guys back next time.